All right, I'm getting the vermiculite ready for this pied clutch. What we do is we measure in grams, 1 part vermiculite and 1 part water. I think that's a little much. Let me go grab a deli cup. By the way, when you're doing this, it's important to have everything really clean. Now, like I said, 1 part vermiculite to 1 part water, and that's by weight. So, on the scale, currently it's showing 512 grams of vermiculite, but I'm going to take some of that out. Then we're going to get a pitcher or a measuring cup or something, and we're going to do whatever weight it shows for the vermiculite, we're going to do the same for the water.
Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page.
Let me put some of this back. I like to use a real nice sized tote to hold the whole clutch of eggs. Sometimes I'll use a 6-quart tote and I end up having to use 2 totes for the same clutch.
You also receive a list of materials made for every project, where you can as cheaply as possible. Projects like the scalable rainwater catchment system that automatically filters water.
There we go. I'm going to do 400 grams of vermiculite. And if you see, looking at about roughly 2 inches of vermiculite, 1.5 inches maybe, plus or minus. Now we're going to go get the water. All right, now we had 400 grams of vermiculite. By the way, sorry about the news. I turned it off though. Let me see. Now we want to get 400 grams of water. Now, I always like to make the water a little warm if I'm making it this close, because the eggs should be incubated. We incubate at like 88 degrees, so I don't want to use cold water. I want to make sure the water's close enough to the temperature it needs to be. All right, there's our 400 grams. Now, what I'm actually going to do is bring us on over by the sink so that once I mix it up, I could wash my hands all nice before moving on to the next part of this. See if this works. Here we go. All right, now, and again, I was talking about making sure everything is clean. You want to also make sure your hands are clean when you do this. So I've already washed my hands good with soap and water. And then you want to mix this up real nice. And you want to make sure that the vermiculite, you want to be able to squeeze it. It gets kind of spongy, but you want to be able to squeeze it and no water comes out of it. Once you do this a few times, the professionals will tell you that you don't even need to use the scale anymore, and you could just do it by sight and by feel. However, I still measure it because that's what's worked for me in the past, and I really don't want to mess it up by guessing. But the goal is you want to get them eggs at 99% humidity, but you don't want there to be any standing water, because if the eggs get wet, they get moldy. You know what I mean? So if you look at that, I kind of formed a sponge ball with the vermiculite. Holds real nice, but it's kind of sandy too. But, all right, she's all mixed up. So now what I'm going to do is cover the bottom, make it all nice and even. And I like to gently pack it down. You don't want to pack it too much, because when you put these eggs in here, you want them sitting at a point where they're not going to roll around. You know what I mean? So, but I like to make it real nice top. I don't want no little mountains in here or anything like that. All right, should be good. Now I'm going to wash my hands and I'm going to go get this girl so we can get her eggs out of there. Yeah. All right, here's our girl. Now, no matter how nice of a snake you think you have, when they have their eggs, they could be a little hissy. So I definitely have the snake hook here. Well, I know it's probably going to be hard for you to see, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently take her off of the eggs, and I'm going to put her in this tote. We're going to move the eggs to here, and we got to get the plastic wrap. I cover the top of the tote with plastic wrap, then I put the lid on it. Then I even put more plastic wrap over the lid. I'm going to see if I could prop the phone up so you could watch the process. All right, hopefully the phone stays put. You should really see how I have it. You should really see how I have it balanced. It's pretty funny, but let's see how we do this. By the way, this girl's name is Delilah. We actually bought her from a person down in Pittsburgh. She was on Craigslist. This was a few years ago. A buddy of mine texted me. It's all right, baby. A buddy of mine texted me and said, hey, there's a pied female on Craigslist. I think it was only $150. He said, you better go get her. Otherwise, I'm going to get her myself. Sorry, baby. You're okay. You're okay. So I want to make sure I don't roll the eggs around. There we go. It's like eight eggs. Now, it's also a good idea. I don't know if you could see, but you want to rub your finger down in her belly and make sure that there's no eggs still inside of her. Now you can see that this girl is empty. She was over 2,000 grams at the start of this. And I bet you, with the eggs being around 100 grams a piece, I bet you she is probably down to about 1,200 grams, give or take. There you go. 8 pearly whites. Now, let's get them over here into the tote. All right. Now, typically I do try to stick them in their egg tote individually, but if they are kind of glued together. So, matter of fact, I'm going to show you something. If you could tell, when you go to separate them, see how they're really glued together. Now, sometimes you could gently pull them apart like I just did. However, sometimes when you do that, you're going to end up ripping the eggs, which is going to hurt them. Oh, we got a little boob egg down there. So, if they're glued together real nice like they are here, it's better to just keep them together so that you do not tear them apart. All right, so since they are nice and glued, I'm gonna just take the whole clutch, which is pretty hard to do based on how they are glued, and I'm gonna set them inside. There you go. Now, whichever way the legs are, when you find them, they have to stay like that. After they sit for a while, you cannot roll the egg because depending on where the embryo is, it'll flip over and it'll more or less drown, will not make it. So, I'm going to go this direction. Of course. Don't you hate plastic wrap when you don't have your little metal piece to rip it with? Oy, oy, oy. I hate plastic wrap. Normally I'd have help doing this, but the store's open and my wife's out there running the store and my son's out there with her, so I'm doing this one on my own. Alright. There's one piece. The other. Now, some people I think don't even use plastic wrap, but I like to make sure it's real nice and sealed because you do not want to lose any of that humidity And then, tell you what, back in the first year, I would be all over the incubator, and I'm making sure that, you know, I'm looking in that incubator every single day. But as time goes on, got used to it. I still love this so much when I see babies and get eggs. I love it. However, I'm not nearly in the incubator as much these days as I used to be. But I'll leave these virtually untouched for 30 days. This past clutch, the one that's in the incubator right now, has actually been in there. It was in there, I think, for 32 days before we actually aired it out the first time. But after 30 days, I like to take the top off, open it up, let it air out a little bit. And also, I get a dry paper towel and dab all the humidity, all the condensation off the plastic, because you do not want any water falling on top of the eggs. You know, if you see water drop on top of the eggs, you really want to get in there and dry it off as quick as you can, because that'll cause mold, and mold will quickly kill them eggs, which is another reason why it is good to separate the eggs if you can, because just like if you have a basket of apples, if one apple goes bad, that mold is going to quickly spread to every other apple. But if they're separate and one of them gets mold on it, it takes longer for the mold to transfer over, and usually you could take that one bad egg out of there before that were to happen. So these are all sealed up. Now they're going to go in the incubator, and I'm not going to touch them for a month. Then I'm going to air them out. Then, usually after that first time of airing it out, I usually wait another week or 10 days, and I'll do that again. And then once you're in that last 3 weeks or something, you're going to air them out at least once a week, and sometimes every day, because all that condensation's built up on the ceiling of the plastic that you don't want to drop down. And you'll see the front of the tote is just covered in condensation. Matter of fact, I will walk you with me to the incubator, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. All right, there's our clutch. If you could see it from today, this clutch has been in here for 40 days now. You see all that condensation build up on the front? We're going to go in here this evening and air them out, and I'm going to take a dry paper towel, and I'm just going to wipe that all off. And it is always good to have a thermometer inside that egg box, but after I think the second year, I quit putting a thermometer in there, because we have a VE200, and you see that holds temperature really well. It's only probing at 87 because the door is open. But yeah, we leave this plugged in year round, and so it's always ready to go when we need it. So one thing I almost forgot to mention. After you pull your female off of her eggs, it's always good to soak her for a good 15 minutes in lukewarm water. That way it helps to get the egg smell off of her. And now, this is how I've always done it. I've never taken a female off her eggs without soaking her, but that's just how I've learned. But I guess that helps get the egg smell off of her, and it helps her get to eating again quicker. So I'm going to soak her for about 15 minutes. Now I've already cleaned the tote that she was in, and I'm going to get it all ready to put back in the rack. And then I'll put her back after her soak, and then here in about a day or two, I'll offer her her first meal after laying the eggs, because you got to remember, she hasn't eaten in a couple months. It's probably been 2.5 months or so for her, maybe a little longer even. So, yeah, and then we're going to get her back on food again, and she'll keep eating and all that. She'll be good to go for next year. So, all right, guys. Talk to you soon. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and I'll keep you posted on when they're going to hatch. Have a good one.